What if the person you are celebrating today is the same person you will cry over tomorrow? What if the person you are so proud of is quietly leading to something painful? He was the pride of his family, the one they looked up to, the one they spoke about with joy. They called him successful, they called him favored, but nobody stopped to ask questions. Nobody looked beyond the smiles. Nobody noticed the change. Nobody asked what was quietly dying behind the scenes. Because sometimes the loudest celebration is the beginning of the loudest regret. In the city where respect was measured by titles and legacy was measured by sons, Mr. and Mrs. Okeke was admired by many, yet quietly pitied by others. Mr. Okeke was a respected principal in a government secondary school, known for his discipline, firm principles, and uncompromising belief in education. His years of service has earned him honor, but also expectations. A man of order and tradition, he believed deeply in family lineage and the continuity of a man's name. His wife, Mrs. Okeke, was a dedicated teacher in a government primary school. Gentle, patient, and deeply compassionate, she shaped young minds with care and humility. Where her husband stood firm and authoritative, she was soft-spoken and nurturing. Together, they built a home anchored in values, prayer, and mutual respect. They were blessed with three beautiful daughters, Nonye, Chioma, and Nkem. The girls were intelligent, well-behaved, and raised with discipline. They were a source of pride to their parents and an example to many. Yet, in their society, daughters were never enough. Whispers followed them. Mocking questions lingered in the air. Who will carry the family name? What happens when the principal has no son? Each comment cut deeply. Though the Okeke smiled in public, the weight of those words crushed them in private. They prayed harder. They begged God for just a son, a child to bear the family name. Then one morning, their prayers were answered. Mrs. Okeke became pregnant. Month later, they had a son. He was named Ikem. Joy flooded the house. Mr. Okeke wept openly like a child. He held his son tightly, whispering prayers of gratitude into his tiny ears. To them, Ikem was not just a child, he was a miracle, an answered prayer, a proof that God had finally remembered them. From that day, everything changed. Ikem became the center of the family's universe. His sisters adored him deeply. They carried him, played with him, and protected him. Yet, as Ikem grew, worry quietly settled in their hearts. Whenever Ikem misbehaved, no one corrected him. Whenever he was rude, excuses were made. Whenever he was wrong, he was defended. The girls tried to speak up, but Mr. Okeke would explode with anger. Keep quiet, he would shout. Ikem is my heir. This house belongs to him. You girls are holy visitors here. One day, you will all marry and leave. Those words cut deeper than punishment. Slowly, the sisters learned to stay silent. His parents pampered him without restraint. When Ike made mistake, excuses were quickly made. When he disobeyed, it was called boldness. When he failed, the blame was placed on others. Slowly, discipline disappeared. Correction became real. Boundaries faded. Ikem grew up believing he was different, above rules, above struggle, above consequences. Ironically, though his parents were teachers, they unknowingly failed to teach him the most important lesson of all. contentment, and that failure would one day cost them everything. Ikem grew up believing the world revolved around him. Life always bent to his favor, so Ikem never learned how to bend to life. When Ikem gained admission into the university, his parents were filled with pride. They sent him off with prayers, advice, and enough money to settle in. They believed education would shape him into a responsible man. But the city and the campus had their own teachers. Teachers that taught faster, sweeter, and far more dangerous lessons. University life opened Ikem's eyes to a different world. There, he met Chike and Nidu. They were not like other students. They dressed sharply and always seems to have cash. While others rushed to lectures and worried about assignments, Chike and Nedu spoke confidently about forex trading, instant profit, and financial freedom. School is too slow. Chike would say casually, money answers faster than certificates. Nedu added with a grin. Ikem listened. They showed him screenshots of profits, videos of luxury cars, and pictures of exotic trips. His heart burned with desire. In his mind, he saw himself rich, respected, and untouchable, without stress, without waiting. Soon Ikem joined them. At first, it felt exciting. He stayed awake deep into the night, washing shirts, pressing buttons, and placing trades. He believed his breakthrough would come quickly, but it didn't. He lost again and again and again. Each loss made him angrier. Each failure made him more restless. Lectures became optional. Books gathered dust. His phone became his classroom, his altar, and his obsession. His parents called often. How is school? His mother asked gently. Fine, mommy. Ikem replied easily. They sent more money. They trusted him. They had no idea. Their hard-earned savings were vanishing into failed trade and false hopes. Ikem became consumed. When he lost, sleep escaped him. When he won small, greed whispered for more. Education no longer mattered. To Ikem, school was slow and useless. He wanted fast money, fast respect, and instant success. One night, after losing everything once again, Ikem sat alone in his hostel room. His heart raced. Sweat soaked his body. His hands shook. I must recover everything by all means, he whispered into the darkness. That night, desperation fully entered Ikem's life. And when desperation enters, darkness is never far behind. The boy who once lived without worry now walked with heavy shoulders. His eyes were always tired. His phone never left his hand. Loss upon loss had drained his strength, but his hunger for fast money only grew stronger. Someone noticed. Her name was Chinyere, Ikem's girlfriend. She watched him closely. She saw the anger in his silence, the sleepless nights, the way his hands shook whenever he checked his phone. She saw the tears he tried so hard to hide. One evening, as they sat quietly, she broke the silence. You don't have to keep suffering like this, she said softly. Ikem looked at her, confused, broken, and desperate. My elder brother can help you, she added. Ikem's heart skipped. That same evening, Chinyere took Ikem to meet her elder brother, Alasko. Alasko did not smile. He looked at Ikem the way a hunter studied wounded prey. His eyes were sharp and cold. I see hunger in you, Alasko said quietly. Hunger makes people brave and it makes them dangerous. If you are ready to do anything, I know someone who can change your life. That was how Ikem was taken to meet the Grandmaster. The room felt heavy the moment Ikem stepped in. The air itself seemed to press against his chest. The Grandmaster sat calmly, his eyes deep and unsettling, as though they could see into Ikem's soul. I can make you rich, the Grandmaster said slowly. Cars, houses, respect, and power. Ikem swallowed hard. But wealth has rules. You must obey every command. You must be loyal. You must never question. Ikem's heart pounded. Fear and desire wrestled into him. Then desire won. I am ready, Ikem whispered. He pledged loyalty. He vowed secrecy. He promised obedience. Then came the first test. When the Grandmaster explained it, Ikem's body trembled. His stomach turned. His mind screamed for him to run. The test was cruel, inhuman. He was ordered to lie with a mad woman. Ikem froze, but then he remembered his losses, his shame, his hunger, and he agreed. The days that followed were filled with pain, fear, and inner battles, but Ikem did not turn back. Against all odds, he completed the task. When he returned, the Grandmaster looked at him for a long time, then nodded. You are ready, he said. Weeks later, Ikem was given a laptop. Alasko and the Grandmaster taught him the secret of the Yahoo business, scripts, lies, and ways to drain money from strangers without leaving traces. Ikem learned quickly. Desperation has shaped his mind. Then suddenly, everything changed. Money began to flow. Ikem bought his first car. He drove it proudly around campus. The same boy who once begged for money now lived like a king. Respect, envy, and fear followed him. Ikem smiled again, but he did not know this was only the beginning, and that every gift he received came with a hidden price. Ikem began to announce his wealth loudly without voice. Designer clothes clung to his body. Expensive phone never left his hands. Flashy gadgets followed him everywhere he went. He wanted the world to see that he had arrived. Fear no longer lived in him. Money became his shield, power and identity. Classes stopped mattering. Lecturers became noise. Exam felt irrelevant. On campus, Ikem walked like a king among servants, confident and untouchable. But not everyone was impressed. One evening, Alasko called him aside. His face was serious, stripped of all jokes. Stay away from my little sister, Alasko said firmly. You are dangerous to her now. The price we pay for this life is dirty. Touch her and you will bring curses you cannot survive. The word struck Ikem like cold water. Fear flashed briefly in his eyes. He nodded without argument. Weeks later, Ikem and Chinyere parted ways peacefully. No fight, no drama, just distance and a warning that lingered in the air. But Ikem's hunger did not stop. Instead, it shifted. He began changing women like tissue papers, sleeping with one after another. Yet, strangely, every time he did, his wealth multiplied. Each encounter seems to fuel his money, and every woman he touched lost something, though Ikem did not know exactly what. Whenever people asked about the source of his sudden success, he smiled proudly. I am a forest trader, he would say confidently. School completely lost its value to him. Carryovers piled up. Assignments were ignored. Exams were skipped without regret. Education felt slow. Money felt instant. Not long after, Ikem dropped out of the university. At just 19, he made a move that shocked everyone. He bought a brand new car for his parents. Not long after, he built them a proper house in a quiet part of the city. far better than the three-bedroom flat they once lived in. His parents were overwhelmed with joy. They never questioned the source of his wealth. They only celebrated. But the city began to whisper, how can a boy this young have such money? Where does this money really comes from? This is not normal. Neighbors watched with suspicion. Old classmates whispered. Even distant relatives raised their eyebrows. Still, Mrs. Okeke laughed it all away. They are jealous, she said boldly. My son is blessed. Let them talk. The family continued to celebrate Ikem's wealth without asking questions. People praised Ikem openly, some with admiration, others with fear. To his parents, he was perfection. But not everyone was blind to the danger. His two elder sisters, now married with children of their own, grew increasingly uneasy. The wealth was too sudden, too much, too fast. It did not make sense. Late one night, the elder sister, Nonye, could no longer keep quiet. She called their father. Daddy, she said carefully, have you asked Ikem where all this money is coming from? There was a brief silence in the line. Then their father replied, firm and confident, no, I don't want to make him angry. He is our holy son. Whatever he does is right and perfect. The word sent a cold chill through Nonye's body. She wanted to speak again, to insist, but she remained silent. Fear had already won. Meanwhile, Mrs. Okeke continued to testify in church about her son's success. Sunday after Sunday, she stood before the congregation, praising God for blessing their only son with uncommon wealth. Hands clapped, voices shrilled, amens filled the air. But when the service ended, the pastor asked her to meet him privately in his office. She went in confidently. The pastor did not smile. Madam, he said softly, while you were sharing your testimony, I saw a dark cloud hovering over you. Her heart skipped. You must pray, he continued. Be watchful and be very mindful of your son. She nodded politely, thanked him and left. But once she stepped outside, her pride returned. She hissed under her breath, rubbish, enemy of progress. She refused to believe that danger could come from the same child she called a miracle. Just 4 days later, Ikem organized a grand birthday celebration for his mother. It was held at the most expensive hotel in town. Friends, relatives and well-wishers gathered in large numbers. Music filled the hall. Food flowed freely. Laughter echoed everywhere. Mrs. Okeke danced with joy. She smiled endlessly, hugging guests and proudly introducing her son. But joy is fragile. 2 weeks after the celebration, she fell ill. At first, it was tiredness. Then strange pains followed. Doctors were consulted. Medications were tried. Prayers were offered. Nothing worked. Eventually, the diagnosis came. It was kidney failure. A transplant was suggested, but time was against them. Mrs. Okeke died quietly in the hospital. 1 month after the grand birthday celebration, the same house that once overflowed with laughter became a place of mourning. Silence replaced music. Tears replaced smiles. Ikem stood broken. The family stood shattered. The joy they celebrated had turned into sorrow. The blessing they praised has become a curse. And death had only knocked once. 3 months after their mother's death, the house was still filled with sorrow. The joy, noise, and pride that once lived there were gone. Everyone moved like shadows. Then tragedy struck again. Ikem's father became sick. It started quietly: body weakness, loss of appetite, sleepless nights. Doctors ran tests, but nothing clear came out. Ikem spared no money. He moved his father from one hospital to another. He paid for drugs, tests and special care. "Doctor, please save my father," he begged. "I don't want to lose him, please." But money could not buy life. Weeks later, early in the morning, Ikem's father died in the hospital. The news shattered the family. Two parents gone within months. The house broke apart. Ikem cried uncontrollably. His sisters were broken, but their pain soon turned into anger. They pointed fingers. "This is not normal. He knows something." He used them. One by one, Ikem's sisters accused him of having a hand in their parents' death. The walls cut deeper than knives. His sisters began to avoid him. They feared him. They looked at him with suspicion. Only one person stood still: Nkem, Ikem's immediate elder sister. She was still single, quiet and thoughtful. She refused to believe the accusations. "No," she said firmly, "Ikem can never hurt our parents." But even as she spoke, doubt tried to knock at her heart. While the family mourned, Ikem continued to flourish. Cars, money, parties. He lived large, untouched by grief, or so it seems. Months passed after the death of Mr. Okeke, Ikem's father. Instead of sorrow reducing Ikem, his wealth increased. Money flowed like water. He bought landed properties, both within the country and abroad. He invested in houses, plots and businesses. His name began to open doors. He was invited to big ceremonies. People stood up when he entered. Powerful men shook his hands. One morning, Nkem, Ikem's sister, was on her way to the market. Suddenly, a strange woman stopped her. The woman looked ordinary, but her eyes were sharp and serious. "My daughter," she said, "listen carefully." Nkem paused. "From today till the next 7 days, do not accept any gift of any kind from any relative. Be prayerful because your life is in danger." Nkem felt cold. The woman continued, "Embark on 3 days of prayer. Do not joke with this." Before Nkem could ask questions, the woman walked away and disappeared into the crowd. Her heart raced. That same period, Ikem was summoned by the Grand Master. "It is time for renewal." The man said coldly, "You must present your sacrifice to the altar." Ikem did not hesitate. He pledged his sister, Nkem. 2 days later, Ikem arrived at Nkem's place with excitement written all over his face. "Sister," he shouted happily, "I have a surprise for you." Outside stood a brand new car shining under the sun. Nkem screamed with joy. Tears filled her eyes. She had never imagined such gift. "Ikem," she cried. Ikem smiled and stretched out the car key. As Nkem reached for it, her hand suddenly froze. The woman's voice echoed in her head. "Do not accept any gifts. Your life is in danger." Her heart beat loudly. I can't accept this," she said softly. Ikem laughed. "Why? Don't you like it?" He begged. He pleaded. He got angry. "Take it," he shouted. "I bought it for you." I am sorry," she said firmly. "I don't want it." Ikem's face changed. That night, something went wrong. Very wrong. Ikem drove the car himself, angry and frustrated, on a lonely road. The car suddenly lost control. It somersaulted violently and burst into flame. By the time help arrived, Ikem was dead. The news spread like fire. People cried. Others whispered. Some nodded knowingly. When the news of Ikem's death reached Nkem, her world stopped. She screamed. She collapsed. Her heart shattered into pieces. The image of her brother smiling as he offered her the car would not leave her mind. The same car, the same gift, the same kiss she almost collected. When she finally found strength, Nkem visited her two older sisters and told them everything. She told them about the woman she met at the market. She told them about the revelation. She told them about the car Ikem bought for her. And when she finished, her voice broke. The same car killed him, she cried. Her sisters wept bitterly. The truth hit them like a heavy stone. They sat on the floor, crying, blaming, remembering. They blamed their parents. If only they had corrected him. If only they had questioned him. If only they had warned him. They remembered how Ikem was pampered, how he was never scolded, how every wrong thing he did was excused. Ikem grew up believing there was a shortcut to everything, to money, to success, to life. No patience, no discipline, no fear. And now, that belief had killed him. Ikem died at the age of 25, young, rich, but empty. He was buried in one of the many landed properties he bought with blood money. People came. Some cried, some whispered, some shook their head quietly. After the burial, reality settled like cold rain. Late Mr. Okeke had no male child left. His name ended with Ikem. No son, no heir, no continuation. All that remained were houses, lands, and painful memories. Lessons from the story. This story teaches us that not every door that opens is a blessing, and not every sudden success comes from God. It speaks directly to you watching this, because shortcuts may look sweet at the beginning, but they always demand a price later. When money comes without labor, sacrifice, or patience, it often comes with invincible chains. And those chains don't only bind the person who made the choice, they drag innocent families into pain. Parents must not celebrate success blindly. Love without correction is not love. It is silence that destroys. When warning comes, especially from unlikely places, ignoring them can cost lives. Pride has a way of making people laugh at truth until tragedy makes it speak louder. No wealth is worth the blood, tears, or destiny of your family. Every evil gain has an expiring date. It may take days, months, or years, but payment always comes. And when it does, it comes mercilessly. To the young ones watching, life has no genuine shortcut. And to those already on a dark path, this is your sign. Turn back while there is still time. Because when consequences arrive, apologies become useless, money becomes meaningless, and regret becomes permanent. I want to sincerely appreciate every single person who took out time to watch this story to the very end. Your support keeps these stories alive. Your presence here means the world to us. To everyone who supported this work, engaged with it, and helped spread the message, may wisdom guide your choices, and may you never learn life's lessons the hard way. I am deeply grateful. This is not just appreciation, it is heartfelt. Please endeavor to subscribe to this channel, turn on the notification bell, and stay with us, because more real, Emotional and life-changing stories are coming. Stories that speak truth, expose hidden dangers, and remind us that life has consequences. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. We love you all. God bless you.